AM 1260 KLYC, and it's your day. And one of the things we're doing is we're honoring residents of Yamhill County by giving them a day on KLYC. And today is Homer Farley Day on AM 1260 KLYC. And Homer has quite a story to tell. He's a member of the world's greatest generation, World War II veteran. And first of all, Homer, I just want to say thank you for the service to your country.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about your service in World War II for folks that may not have heard the story.
Well, I started off when I was not quite 14 years old.
You were one of those 14-year-olds in the Army.
I joined the old Civilian Conservation Corps, and my first stop was right down here at Butte Falls in Oregon. I stayed down there for a few months and transferred over to the Army, and they sent me to Fort Custer, Michigan. And I sat there for almost 3 months, and I got a notice that I was going to Iceland. And there was 22 of us, I believe it was, around that amount. We went to Iceland to pick out spots for the rest of the regiment and division to come to. And while I was there, I spent my time with the Marines that was already there. So I stayed a year with the Marines. And then I went to North Africa with General Patton, and we hit the beaches at Casablanca. And needless to say, we didn't fire a shot. We just walked in. The others were not quite that well off. And from there, we came back to England and started preparing for the invasion of Europe. And I got the hit before I ever went. I went into the hospital, and when I got out of the hospital, I joined a different outfit. I joined a Big Red 1, the 1st Infantry Division. Needless to know, or needless to say, we hit the beach at Utah, D-Day, and that was a little gory.
So what's it like? You were 14 or 15 by this time when you were doing Normandy.
He originally was from Kentucky.
From Kentucky.
Originally, I was born in the state of Ohio, in a little town east of Cincinnati called Portsmouth, Ohio. And I moved across the river so I could go to school and play sports. But I never made it to the sports department. I left. My mother passed away when I was about 6 years old, and I was an orphan from there on out.
So 14, 15 years old, you're hitting the beach at Normandy Beach.
I liked about a little over a month and more, being 16 when I hit the beaches.
Still pretty young.
Yes, it was. I didn't know what I was into or out of, either one. But I stayed with the 1st Infantry Division until we got in 18 days after D-Day, and my old unit came in and relieved us. Well, at that time it was, I guess it was sort of complimentary that each outfit would leave one man back with the upcoming outfit to show them around. And of course, I was from that division, they transferred me right back. So I went back into the 5th Infantry Division. And I stayed with Patton again all through France. And the biggest thing we hit there was hedgerows, of course. And we was well off if we gained a hedgerow a day. That was a big shot if we got 2. But then our unit broke out of the a little place called Carentan. We broke out and headed south. But we had to hold up until we got prepared for it. Then we went off. We sent one regiment, went down the Brest Peninsula, and that regiment took Brest Peninsula. And we went into Angiers. That's where I got my first wound. And I didn't even go back to the hospital. We were crossing railroad yards there in Angiers, and we were with the support of tank destroyers. Well, I was running along the side of the tank because that's what we were doing, protecting them, as well as them protecting us. And I got hit right across the eye. And I didn't think too much of it because I'd reach up and wipe it, and it was all right. And this tank commander hollered down and said, "Are you hit, Sarge?" And I said, "Yeah, I got a scratch." And didn't pay more attention to it. And he said, "Well, do you know where it came from?" I said, "Yeah, I saw the flash." And I told him where it was at. He cranked that 76 around he had, fired one shot. No more shots came from the window. But it was like that. We stormed across France. We crossed France in 29 days after we broke out from the D-Day. 29 days later, we were set to attack and take the city of Metz, which had never fallen to enemy troops. But we had to hold up because we were running out of ammunition. We was running out of everything. As a matter of fact, we run out of gasoline. And Patton had went back to see what he could do about getting the stuff. And when he called up, he said, "I need a place for these planes to land because I've got them coming in." Said, "And don't clear me one space because we got a lot of them coming in." So we blew up streets along the city. They used the streets themselves for a landing gear, moved the houses away for storage, and we, as fast as the planes could unload or could land, we unloaded them. Then we moved into Metz, and it took us twice as long to take the city back that we already had for nothing. But that's warfare.
So what was Patton like to fight for? What was he like to be under?
Patton was a man of his word. I never saw a better general in my life. And if I had to go to war, I'd want one just like him. He never asked you to do something he wouldn't do. As a matter of fact, we crossed the Moselle River. I had 2 platoons in under me at that time because one platoon leader was gone. We were getting ready to attack. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. It was dark, very dark. And, of course, we counted off as we boarded the little combat boat. And we got down to the last man, and I was getting ready to enter. And another man stepped up and called his number off. And I reached up and tapped him and said, "We halt right here. I don't know who you are, and I want to know." All he did was reach down and got my hand and laid it up on his shoulder. And I felt it was 3 stars. And I said, "Yes, sir, I know you." And I said, "But you don't go across with us." He said, "I do what I want to." And he looks at me and he said, "I'm going across with you." And I said, "I don't know, General." I said, "But there's only one thing I can tell you." He said, "What's that?" I said, "You're a damn fool." And he said, "Well, I want to ask you to do something I won't do." And that was him. I met him a couple of times after that, and he was the same general. It didn't make any where you saw him or where or what. He was the same general. He was a good one. And if he told you something, that's what he meant. And he told us when we first joined him. He said, "Don't worry about a foxhole. You don't need it." He said, "We're not going to stop." And very few times we did stop. And I never dug a foxhole all during the war.
So if you had to go to war again, you'd go for with somebody like General Patton.
Do that?
If you were going to go to war again, you would like to go with somebody like General Patton.
That would be the best man I could tell. And he's got a son that's in there now. And I would say yes. If to him I had to go, that's the one I would want to go with.
Can we talk about Normandy a little bit? Is that okay to visit about that?
Yeah. Yes.
What wave were you part of?
I was in the first wave. I was with A Company, the 16th Infantry, which was part of the 1st Division. and we had something like 70-some% casualties the first day. It was rough. Needless to say, it was rough.
Was it, what was it, artillery fire from overhead? Was it mines? Was it, what was it, everything?
It was a little bit of everything. They had pillboxes about every 100 foot. They had a pillbox, which usually consists of a piece of artillery and at least 2 to 3 machine guns. And they're hard to get by. And then on the beach itself, the first thing we run into was a barbed wire, and that was tough. Well, the next one we run into was the crossbars, steel cross fence. That was another. Then the last one we had to cross was steel fence with the barbed wire. And needless to say, it was tough getting over them. And we lost heavy. We paid for it. I was fortunate.
How did you knock at the pillboxes? You just have to get close enough to throw a grenade?
Most of the pillboxes were knocked out by individuals, believe it or not. An individual would get himself up to it, and he would use his hand grenades or something similar. I know of one guy that used a bazooka to knock out a pillbox. He walked up and threw the bazooka gun up and pulled the trigger, and of course that had a solid piece of steel that just flew every way. But that's the way the pillboxes are taken. We had, of course, after the third day, we had pretty good air cover. First day we didn't have any. All the planes that was in the air went behind us. We had one division that landed about 10 miles behind, not behind us, in front of us. It was airborne, and they were a mighty good help. All in all, regardless of what he was in, what his name was, or what his rank was, if he's a soldier, sailor, Marine, or what, they're all good, and we were all friends, and we remain that way today.
Homer Farley, we want to thank you for the service to your country. It's an amazing story. I'm glad you survived Normandy Beach and survived World War II and are here with us today.
I know that when we went into Germany, we got called out by General Patton when the Battle of the Bulge began. The Germans had it all mapped out, and they were making good headway in taking Bastogne. But the 101st Airborne Division held out until somebody could get there. Well, it fell on the 5th Infantry Division and the 9th Infantry Division. We stopped them. Heavy losses on their part and fewer losses on ours, but it's still heavy. But we relieved the airborne on Christmas Day.
Were you part of that wave that relieved the airborne of the 101st?
No, I wasn't in that part. I was still on the front. I was about 16 miles in front of them. We were running the Jerry's back, and we had them on the run. And 2 days afterwards, they pulled us out, and we went back south. Well, we had a harder time getting back south than we did getting up there, because we hit a little town called Eckernot, and we had 2 divisions that the Germans had held. They did hold us up for about 3 or 4 days, and the city came into the core of the city in a V shape, and then there was one out. Well, they were on the one out, and the one that we really wanted. And they had tanks, and we didn't have any. We just infantry, and we were going back to the Third Army. That I can remember a couple of guys, including myself, that as a tank would go by, we were in the edge of the preamble. I can remember where the tank would come by and unload a barrage of fire on us, and then he would go up and turn around and come back and do the same thing. Well, I told a couple of guys, I said, "You 2 guys have got bazookas here. I said, the next time that tank goes by, I want one of you to roll out on one side and the other to roll out on the other side. Take a man with you to load your bazooka, and I'll go out with the other one. And that sucker, we get him either coming in or going out, we stop him. And we were fortunate enough that when he went by, my gunner he was a good shot. As I loaded his gun and tapped him on the shoulder, and he put one in the engine, and that was about the only way the infantry could stop one of those German tanks, is firing into the engine. But we did stop him, and we got to move on. And I wound up in Europe. I wound up in Czechoslovakia. And from there, I went to Korea. And I was a little fortunate and a little teed off over what I had. When I went over there, I went into a unit that was called Sound and Flash. Well, that was a new unit. The Koreans didn't have any. So my platoon was put on special duty with the 1st Marine Rock Outfit, that we called it, Republic of Korea. And we stayed with them, and from the time I went into Korea until the time I left. And I came back to the States, and I don't guess I had enough of it, because I was down at in Texas, got orders of these men shipped out. I didn't know where I was going until after we got at sea. And then I found out I was headed for Vietnam. Well, I got to Vietnam, and I was supposed to went in to take over a platoon. They were short of the gunners on these gunships. And I was asked there, I said, are you involved, or are you eligible to fire a machine gun? I said, I used to be a gunner. Needless to say, I was thrown on a door gun. And our second trip out, we got shot down. They were good, but we shot down. But the Air Force was a little better. They picked us up in about 15 minutes. And shortly thereafter, the war ended in Vietnam. And that was the end of my fighting days, too.
So you saw 3 wars. You saw World War II, Korea, Vietnam.
That's right.
Well, Homer, I just want to thank you for your service to the country. And today, in your honor, is Homer Farley Day on AM 1260 KLYC.
Yeah, and I thank you and appreciate it. I will have to say this for the McMinnville area of people. I have been shown more courtesy. More people have come up to me and said thanks for being there than I've received since I came home from the war. The people here have been fantastic, and that's why I'm still here. Otherwise, I'd probably be south somewhere.
Where it's warmer.
And he'll be 92 years old next Sunday.
92 years old next Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to put you on our birthday book and wish you a happy birthday.
Yeah.
92 next